trying to peg the election on Peter Obi. Peter Obi was not on that ballot. Peter Obi was not on that ballot. Yes, he supported George Morgan, and he gave his support, and he went to 3 areas in terms of, campaign and all. But it was the campaign and contest of George Morgan, and which the people have to decide. Remember, all of this election hinges on an Amberian to decide who becomes their governor. 17 years ago, Peter Obi ran an election against...
So what was the point of Peter Obi going to campaign on his behalf if your argument is that it was George Moalu's campaign, yes, and that Peter Obi's shine would not have rubbed off on him? I don't understand the point you're making.
Okay, now, for example, when you know that even as his choice of a candidate, he came from the Abure leadership, okay? But Peter Obi was actually supporting the Nenadi leadership of the Labour Party. Despite that, he went ahead to give that support, to show his honor for his party. That is what is honorable for any candidate.
So, in other words, it was a double-edged attempt by Peter Obi to try and lend his support. He was actually lending his support, but at the same time taking it away. Is that
no, not taking it away, but give it to him, give the support to George Morgalu, and allowing the people to decide. So, and he gave him room to showcase his capacity as a candidate of the Labour Party.
But when you come out and you endorse somebody, it's a bit like what we just saw. I mean, it's another country, but in New York, where President Trump endorsed Cuomo, and Mamdani swept the board. I mean, it reflects badly on President Trump, because your expectation is that somebody with the political weight and might of Trump or Peter Obi would be able to have some kind of impact. But not only did, the Labour Party come, I think it was 4th. The other party that, because we're not quite sure which party Peter Obi is in. I mean, he seems to straddle 2 parties. There's the ADC and there's the Labour Party.
It was clear that Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party.
The candidate he supported, George Moalu, came 4th. The margin of defeat was so large, it represented a complete wipeout. LP, 10,576 votes. ADC, the other party he straddles, 8,208 votes, compared to APGA, which won 422,664 votes. And even the APC got 99,445 votes, and the YPP beat out both Labour and ADC to win 37,753. How do you account for that margin of defeat to Mr. Obi's support?
Okay.
How do you account for that to your obedient movement, especially given that, as I said, Mr. Obi campaigned vigorously for George Moalu, who was the LP candidate?
He campaigned on the basis of him being a Labour Party member, and he campaigned in 3 places. 3 places that he went to. And he did that to give Morgalu the opportunity to present himself to the people. And let me say this, 17 years ago, the same Peter Obi ran elections with the same Mr. Soludo and Ngige, and he beat them.
That was 17 years
17 years.
ago.
So now the same
the world's
person,
moved on since then.
And I can tell you, put a Peter Obi on a ballot, which of course he has moved on, against such individuals at the moment, he will still defeat them. And I'm telling you, when I was in that particular election and I saw the kind of love the people show, but then they said, it is their choice to make in who becomes their governor.
Okay, let me
and at the same time, if you allow me to learn, and at the same time, it is their choice to make the governor of their own state. They've seen the difference of how people who he has supported one way or the other also just left with us. So every individual have to showcase his own capacity.
I understand your attempt to rationalize what has happened.
Yes.
That's perfectly understandable.
Yes.
But let me put it another way. How large is the loss of Anambra State to Peter Obi and the obedient movement? Anambra State is, of course, Peter Obi's home state, which he governed for 8 years. How large is the loss of that state to him?
Do you also know the level of... Yes, I'm answering you. Do you also know the number of population of registered voters in Anambra is 2.2 million point? And then at the end of it all, only 500 and something thousand decided to vote. That is almost like how many percent beyond? So there was a voters' apathy in trusting even in the process. So as far as we are concerned, and Peter Obi is concerned, the population that came out even to support this particular election will have been, is far, far less than when he even is running as a president. So you can't...
These are all attempts to rationalize.
Not rationalize. I'm being factual here.
I think my question to you is, doesn't the loss suggest a possible decline in Mr. Obi's influence and popularity in his home state of Anambra? Let me just finish the question, because many people are interpreting the APC's victory in Mr. Obi's stronghold as a major blow to his reputation and his ambitions, with some critics now questioning his viability as a presidential candidate in 2027.
And I'm justifying to you that when you look at the narrative of what was presented, the candidate of Peter Obi was not on the ballot. If he was on the ballot, this particular calculation wouldn't have even reared his head at all. Peter Obi is strongly being supported by his people at every point. And we like the fact that probably are assuming or saying it in this particular trajectory and saying the dynamics in Anambra election is quite different from anywhere.
Why after the election? I'm going to ask you the same question in a different way.
Yes.
Why after the election results in the Anambra governorship contest should people still be committed to Mr. Obi as a potential winning candidate when he could not even win the polling booth in his own ward?
Because in this case, he was not on the ballot. He was not running for governorship election. He is a candidate for presidential election, which the people have always said that as long as it is Peter Obi, it's 100%. They are not compromising. And if you can do a survey today, in that same election today, it will turn out to be 100% support for Mr. Peter Obi. And I give you an example. You could use Lagos as an example of how he got 100% of votes, and then at the same time, probably the voting that came to Gbadebo was different. And so many other states like that.
Yeah, but in 2023, a lot of people piggybacked off his popularity to get into the House of, the National Assembly,
and that, of course,
Assembly,
and all of them, some of them left. Some of them left, and that did not give this particular trust. So for them now, they are trusting that it is the candidate of Peter Obi or nothing.
Right. Well, the APC, I'm sure you know this because you're very good with keeping track of what's going on politically. The APC has already capitalized on the loss, advising Mr. Obi to abandon his 2027 presidential ambition and saying that a leader who can't win his polling unit has no business leading the country. Don't you think that all that may weaken Mr. Obi's position within not just the Labour Party, but also the ADC, and potentially impact his ability to mobilize support for future elections?
That was the attempt right from the beginning, when we knew that they are going to monetize the process and giving so much money just to demean the candidacy of Mr. Peter Obi. But one thing is for sure, that it is good that they are assuming in that regard, because there's the different election here, presidential election and governorship election. If Mr. Peter Obi was running on a candidate of a presidency and such a thing happened, then you can hold him liable. But in this case, it is not the same. But many, of course, will want to use this opportunity to capitalize on it and demean his candidate. But I can tell you for sure, because I was in that election, even in the picture, you will see how people still run to him. And why would it also be on Peter Obi? Everybody talk about Peter Obi, Peter Obi. Was he the one running for election? No, he wasn't. But he gave his support to the candidate, which is honorable for him to have done. And I can tell you specifically that at any point in time, Mr. Peter Obi declared his political party that he will run for election, you will be amazed the kind of support that he will get. So it's not about Peter Obi. George Moghalu ran his race, and he lost his race. And we congratulate everybody that participated in that election.
Right.
But then the fact remains that Mr. Peter Obi is solidly on ground, and we are behind him 100% at any time, any day.
Well, his supporters, in fairness to you,
yes,
his supporters on social media say that Mr. Obi does not rig elections in any way. Is it the official position of the obedient movement that the Anambra governorship election was rigged, even though much of the evidence seems to suggest the opposite?
It was heavily monetized. And that, of course, is buying of vote and rigging and intimidation. You could see it. Within the last period in which Mr. Peter Obi was in Anambra, he went to about 7 places, all of them School of Nursing, and all of them focusing on his humanitarian gesture that he usually do. And within that period, he gave nothing less than almost 100 million naira to different nursing schools and all. And his thinking is that instead of me to carry this money to go and buy vote, which is the narrative he wants to change, because the idea of buying vote only gives you bad leaders, incapable leaders, incompetent leaders.
Indeed.
Those are, so he is not interested in buying vote. Rather, he will have used that particular money to build a Nigeria, not destroying it. Because what we are seeing as of today, they are destroying this country on a daily basis and making our democracy a shamble as a reflection of the... And someone even want to say that we can go ahead and now you can beat them in their game. How would you beat them in their game? That means that you must have stolen that humongous sum of money from the government coffers and then to give to the people which are supposed to give them good governance. And we in the obedient movement believe strongly that good governance and fairness, equity and justice must come to play. That is the narrative we want to put in place to build a new Nigeria, not this kind of thing that we are saying.
Well, this is a different ball game entirely. Yes, what Tanko Yusuf is trying to say here is that P2B is not on the ballot. And of course, yes, it's not on the ballot. Now that P2B is a heavyweight does not really mean that it would determine whatever happens, in every state, because it's heavyweight, because it's got integrity and it's got his personality. Of course, don't forget that politics is about party as well. So P2B belonging to a political party, and based on his personality, he has to support in whichever way to his political party for them to win. Yes. So what we are saying here, what Tanko is trying to say is that P2B basically is not on the ballot, and because he is not contesting, and every other person, the state has the will choice to choose whoever they feel that is capable for them, to lead them. We're talking about Anambra State and not presidential and not Nigeria as in whole. So, but it's we're very, very sure that when P2B comes out in 2027, whichever party he chooses to run with, that people will definitely support P2B. That's what Mr. Yusuf is trying to say here. That people, whichever way it is, would definitely support P2B, especially people from the southeast and the Anambarian, because they love him. And he has a proven track record, that people already know, and they know his capability. Tanko was also trying to refer back, 17 years back when P2B contested the same poll with these same persons, including the incumbent, the present governor of Anambra State, Soludo, and he beat all of them woefully. So what we're trying to say here, that even when he comes back now to say he's trying to contest, nobody is going to see his back, because he has a proven track record already, And then again, he's trying to make emphasis of the monetization. Of course, you recall that even during campaign, one of the campaigns, Governor Soludo, the incumbent governor, has already made pledge to, should I say, his party agent, that whoever that wins their polling unit, of course, is going to give them some amount of money. That is monetization. That is inducement, So, and then we can see clear evidence of what really happened during the course of the elections. Some places they were buying vote. P2B even come out to say it, that in his own polling unit they were buying vote as much as high cost as 30,000, 20,000 naira. That is a huge sum. Now imagine for a governor who has come out to make such expenses and has put in such amount of money, to be re-elected. And now you're expecting that this kind of a person is going to work when he's elected. Anyway, let's see what happens. Soludo has actually done his best during his first term, and we're not expecting anything much from him in this second term, because it's just to make gain.